Temecula's new parental notification policy is a scam. Melinda and Emil have been active on social media dressing up this policy as a win for parental rights, a win for girls' rights, when in fact, they are gaslighting parents and these girls. Nice smile, Emil. People don't feel as comfortable as you might bending the truth. Not everybody in this district is religious, and they don't want to lie and claim a religious exemption because girls should be free to change in their own safe spaces, free from biological boys. Their other alternative? Shaming the girls into filing a mental health exemption that would jeopardize their future security clearances and their careers for life. Melinda, you asked via social media for a better alternative, and a common sense solution was provided. If a biological boy does not feel comfortable changing in a boy safe space, he should seek a mental health accommodation, and he should not be allowed willy-nilly, pun intended, to occupy a girl's space.
Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. So I wanted to follow up on a story I did last month about young girls in California in the Temecula Valley School District, where they have introduced a policy making girls sign a religious exemption or a mental health exemption for refusing to change in a locker room with males, boys who identify as girls, supposedly. If they want to get out of having to change in the same place as these boys, they're going to have to sign those exemptions, including a mental health exemption. The board recently reviewed this policy, they voted on it, and unfortunately, this policy still stands. So this is what these young girls in a Temecula Valley School District have to deal with. California is where we have Gavin Newsom, the governor, who has admitted that it's deeply unfair to force girls to compete against male athletes. It's not just sports, it's also women's spaces that are threatened. And this is a classic example of that. So the concern is that this is going to catch on to other school districts. Now, some people are saying if they sign the exemption, at least that's a way out of it. This was initially presented as a common sense solution to the issue. But upon further research, it appears that when you sign a mental health exemption, that can be something that stays with you for life. When they look back at your records in high school, this can very well appear on your records and therefore jeopardize these girls' chances for certain careers in the future where you have to pass a security clearance. Now, of course, the religious exemption is an option. I've signed religious exemptions before, but there are people who aren't religious and they don't want to, pretend to be religious to get out of having to change in the locker room with a boy. You shouldn't have to sign any exemption. Of course, this should not be necessary because it's wrong to force girls to change in the locker room with a boy. The school is there to protect all students. So why they think this is justifiable, I do not know. And I can't believe in 2025, we are putting girls through this. For what? Why these school boards think it's justifiable to put girls through this? And as somebody pointed out quite rightly in one of my videos, this is abusive on both sides. You're telling a boy that he can be a girl and that it's okay for him to change in the girls' locker rooms. You're lying to this boy. And then you're subjecting the girls to this. All the adults involved in this who have allowed this, they need to be held accountable. Oh yes, it's not just high schools. This is affecting girls in middle school.
We got this from a parent. Today was the first day that the girls at the middle school had to dress down in the locker room with a trans student. Correction, with a male. Some of these girls stood their ground. They stood outside and they said, when he is done dressing, then I will go in and undress. While the counselors, counselors, teachers, were out there saying, come on, girls, trying to hurry them up, like, get in there and change and get naked in front of a boy. No big deal. Luckily, the girls held their ground. They continued to stay outside of the locker room until he was out of the locker room. Then they went in and got dressed, but they only had like 5 minutes of PE left. Why are these counselors saying, come on, girls, hurry it up, as if they needed to pressure them to see a boy naked in the locker room? And this is why parents and community members were called to speak at the school board the other day, because there is no policy in effect in the school protecting these girls from seeing this boy naked in the locker room, from him using the locker room, from him watching them undress in the locker room, from him using the girls' restroom. No policy, except girls, if you're not comfortable, you can get a medical exemption. There's clearly something wrong with you if you have a problem with this. This is vile, and need I remind you that if you live in the Temecula area, or even if you don't for that matter, you are allowed to go make a public comment at the school board, okay? So you don't have to have kids at the school. You don't have to have kids at all. You don't have to have any skin in the game to have an opinion, and you should, that girls should be protected from boys in girls' private spaces. Go talk to this school board. You better smack some sense into them verbally.
I asked Chelsea Boyle, who has spoken at these school board meetings. He's very vocal in educating people about this policy and what it could lead to, the implications for these young girls. I asked her what the outcome of the meeting was, and she said the following. The policy still stands. The guy who championed it is backpedaling. He tried to present a new privacy policy that the two Common Sense board members brought forward in May. He made a motion to table it and bring it back next meeting. So it still stands, unfortunately, but for the next meeting, let's hope that some more progress is made and more people are made aware of it so they can join these meetings and fight against this insanity.
Follower in California reached out and let me know that her daughter had to fill out a mental health accommodation form declaring that she had a mental health issue for, get this, not wanting to share the restroom, locker room, bathroom with a boy. Let that really, really sink in. In California, if you're a girl who doesn't want to use, a high school, middle school age girl, if you don't want to have to use the restroom next to a boy or forcibly undress next to a boy, that makes you mentally deranged. Not the boy who wants to be in that space, the boy declaring himself to be something that he's not. No, that's totally sane, totally sound in the mind, but you are the one with a mental health issue. Here's a photo of the mental health accommodation request. You can see it right at the top. This happened in the Temecula Valley Unified School District. Go ahead and give me a lobotomy. If that's the standard for being mentally deranged, is believing that girls' bathrooms are only for girls and vice versa, give me the lobotomy.
So, the letter from that mother giving an account of what her middle school girl went through, waiting outside for the boy to finish getting changed, missing basically a whole PE lesson, being inconvenienced to say the least, simply because they don't want to change in the presence of a boy, and then being made to feel that there's something wrong with them for not being okay with it. Just as, Riley Gaines and Paula Scallon gave an account of, where they were given information for counselling services because they didn't want to change in the same locker room as Leah Thomas. Refer to LGBTQ organisations, counselling services.
Leah will be on this team, whether you like it or not, so you might as well not attach your name to something that's going to taint you for the rest of your life. They told us we would have trouble finding a job. They told us that we would be on the wrong side of history if we spoke on this. They said, you'll be forever known for being on the wrong side of transgender rights, and that's not what you want for yourself. That's not what you want for your future career. And then they told us at the end of this meeting, if we objected, we should seek psychological counseling, and they gave us the number for the psychological services. Yes, it's completely hilarious talking about it now, but the worst part about it is it worked. I sat there and I thought to myself, do I need therapy? Do I need a therapist? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's something wrong with me.
When the real people with the issue are the adults who are pushing this on these girls. They're the ones who need to be looked into. Why do we have counsellors saying to the girls, come on, girls?
They stood outside and they said, when he is done dressing, then I will go in and undress. While the counselors, counselors, teachers, were out there saying, come on, girls, trying to hurry them up, like, get in there and change and get naked in front of a boy.
Do they not have daughters of their own? So they're okay with their daughters changing in the locker room with a boy. I don't care how the boy identifies. This is middle school. Who knows how this boy is going to identify in 20 years' time. I hope by then he would have come to his senses and be giving you people the side eye, all the adults who encouraged this. We can only hope that he doesn't go down the route of medications and surgeries. Meanwhile, they're pressuring these girls to go along with it, because these schools are trying to condition these girls to accept what is unacceptable.
We all share the same goal here, keeping our children safe, supported, and able to learn without distraction. This is a distraction. My concern is the requirement that students who feel uncomfortable in a situation of sharing a facility with someone of the opposite biological gender must file a mental health reasonable accommodation. That language unfairly labels the student as if they have a disorder, when in reality, they're simply expressing a normal boundary about privacy and safety. This change also forces the parent to suggest an arrangement to make the student feel safe and supported within the school environment. The parent has to come up with a suggestion. The burden of the accommodation should not fall on the majority of the students who are simply using facilities consistent with their biological sex, telling them that they must either adjust or be permanently marked with a mental health record. That isn't fair, and it discourages students from speaking up when they feel unsafe. As a former United States Marine, I know firsthand how serious that can be. If I carried a mental health accommodation as a young person, it could have disqualified me from serving. We should not risk closing doors for students into the future simply because they express a normal, healthy boundary today. Policies like this can also create unnecessary vulnerabilities and increase risk, situations that could have easily been prevented with a balanced approach. To make this real, in my own home, I do not allow my teenage boys to be undressed around my teenage daughter. That's not because of judgment. It's because about healthy boundaries, modesty, and safety. It is not just my daughter who would feel uncomfortable. My sons are also very uncomfortable with the idea of a male being in their sister's private space. All three of my children feel strongly about these boundaries, and I believe the school should respect them as well. A more balanced approach would be the student requesting access to a different facility or be offered a private or single-use option under their own accommodation request. That way, their needs are met, the law is upheld, all without stigmatizing other students or forcing them into.
Many are going to look back at this time and feel very embarrassed indeed, ashamed of what they were complicit in. And I hope there's a lot of evidence of the adults involved in this being held accountable, not being allowed to get away with this. So I'll keep you updated. Thank you to Chelsea for bringing this to my attention and to many others. This cannot be happening. It really can't, but it is. It is happening. But at some point, somebody's got to say enough is enough. Before any more girls are traumatized, before any more girls have their time in middle school and high school ruined just to accommodate a delusion. So let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe. Take care of yourselves, and God willing, I will see you in the next video.